Hey y'all, welcome to my channel where we talk about all things television and film from today and yesteryear. So I wanted to come on here and do a quick recap of Interview with a Vampire Season 2, Episode 5. I think the episode is called Don't Be Afraid, Just Start the Tape. Um, this episode was very detailed. Like, you ever heard the saying the devil is in the details? Well, this particular episode was very detailed. So it starts off with Armand, Louis, and Daniel all sitting around talking, and then we get a scene where I guess their butler comes in with the gentleman who basically is Armand's lunch. So Armand ends up leaving the room, and Daniel and Louis begin talking about, he's asking Louis questions, and then he asks Louis what ended up happening the night that they met. And so the episode pretty much is basically an introduction and somewhat of a resolve as to what exactly happened the night that Daniel met Louis and Armand. Um, so we get a scene when he invites Daniel back to his place. I think the time frame is in the early 70s. I think it's 72 or 73. But anyway, we get a lot of the majority of the episode basically in this time frame of the 70s. Um, he shows Daniel his coffin or whatever, and of course, Daniel, he's still kind of unfazed. He doesn't necessarily believe that Louis is vampires at this point. Also, at one point in one part of the episode, Daniel tries to hit on Louis. Oh my gosh. And so it does a flashback to the future where Daniel's interviewing Louis. He's like, "So what did we? Did we sleep together?" And Louis was like, "No." But we also get this scene here where they're talking, and Louis is talking a lot about Claudia and of course Lestat. And at this point, basically, he the little picture at the bottom with his where he's showing his fangs, he is basically calling Daniel's bluff, because Daniel does not believe that he's a vampire. And so he shows him. Daniel is quite intrigued that Louis is a vampire, and he basically is asking him to turn him. And he was like, "You must forgot what it feels like to be a human. You know, I would trade places with you any day." Basically, in so many words, is what he's saying to Louis, because he's like, "Can I have the get?" He basically wants Louis to turn him. He's like, "You can give it to me," and blah 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 blah. And it does get to the point where Louis actually does bite Daniel, and he is basically draining the life out of him. And then Armand comes in, and he, pulls Louis off of Daniel, and he and Louis get into a really heated argument. They both are very disrespectful with what they're saying to each other. Louis tells Armand, he was like, "I done had more fun with this boy over here in the last couple of hours than I done had with you all this time we'd have been together." He's just basically trying to cut him as deep as he can because he's upset. And Armand is like, I'm tired of cleaning up your mess. You always bring in guys back here. And I'm just basically tired of cleaning up your mess. So they get into a heated argument. Louis is very emotional, and he's very high because before he goes and feasts on Daniel is snorting up a bunch of drugs, basically. So Louis gets fed up, and he ends up leaving the room, and he goes upstairs, and then he goes out of this door, and he steps into the sun, because at this point he's just ready to end it all. And he basically starts disintegrating. And of course, Armand ends up coming outside and saves him. And this fool, oh my gosh, look at him. He he looked like a a burned out cigarette. Like, seriously, he looks so crazy. And he was in so much pain. And what I liked about it is that as Daniel and Armand were in the other room talking, you could still hear Louis in agony. Like, you heard all his moans and grunts because he is in so much pain from what he did to himself. Um, as you can see, we get a lot of, oh my god, Armand and Daniel. Armand is something else. Like, he really showed his hand this episode. Armand is very conniving, and he is somewhat low key untrustworthy. Like, he uses, I guess I'm gonna call it telekinesis to his advantage. Like, the way he the way he had Daniel squatting, y'all, I was cracking up because he was like, "I'm in pain." Daniel's like, "I got a Charlie horse. I got a Charlie horse." I was laughing. I was like, "Oh my god." Because Armand, even though he knows Louis was upset and they were basically sparring and just throwing daggers at each other with their words, he still felt a way because he knows that a part of it may be true, what he said about him in liking Daniel and enjoying his company. And I think for whatever reason Armand feels a little bit threatened about that. Um we also get a scene where Louis asks Armand to let him lay in his casket and he obliges him. And in this scene is when you kind of learn a little bit about how disingenuous Armand is. Um he tells Louis, he was like, I listened to those tapes. I listened to them like 4 times. And his issue, of course, is because he talks so much about Lestat and Claudia. He basically has not mentioned Armand at all. And to me, I'm like, well, he really don't need to mention you because y'all together. But I think that's where Armand's feelings are kind of hurt because of Louis just constantly going on and on and on about Lestat and Claudia. And so as he's sitting here, excuse me, talking to Louis while Louis is laying in the casket, he summons Lestat. And Lestat is speaking to him, but Armand is not repeating what Lestat is saying to Louis because Lestat is concerned about the way that Louis looks, and he could tell Louis is in pain. And he tells Armand, he said, "Tell him I love him." Lestat is telling Armand to tell Louis that he loves him. And of course, Armand doesn't say anything. So I was like, yo, Armand, okay. You really showing us who you are, sir. But anyway, he goes back in and he talks to Daniel. And basically he bites Daniel. And he bites Daniel like he's about to finish what Louis started. But Louis intervenes and he tells him, hey, please stop it. And Armand is like, are you asking me? And Louis was like, basically, I'm telling you. He didn't say those words, but that's basically what he meant. And so um Armand spares Daniel. And, as you can see here at the bottom, where Louis is kind of comforting Daniel because he really genuinely does like him. He just enjoys him. He enjoys his company. And so I guess that's how we kind of get the gist of why he trusts Daniel to a certain extent. Um, we also see in the episode where, because a lot of things are murky for both of them, for both Daniel and Louis, as far as the memory of that night and certain things that happened, because you got to think about it. Daniel has all these recordings, but they are having a hard time remembering exactly what happened. And as they're sitting there and they're basically comparing notes, they both realize that Armand, he changed the scenario of that night. He basically um recall their memories and place them with something else. And as the episode goes on, they'll do a flashback to that night, and they'll show Armand basically saying words to them to make them think something else took place instead of what actually happened. And as these two are coming to that realization, they're standing up, and here come Armand with his this is a beautiful man. Let me tell you something. He walked up in here looking like a Prince protege, okay? And he he basically comes in, and it was like, well, how did the hunt go? Asking him about the guy that came in his lunch. He's like, it went fine. He's like, how did the interview go? How was Paris? What did you learn about Paris? And Louis basically told him, he said, we decided to talk about San Diego instead. And so Armand is like, huh? And he was like, Louis asked him, he said, why did you save Daniel? Why? And Armand was like, because, even when you don't want to do good for yourself, I take on that for you. I was like, oh wow. But what is confusing to me, guys, is like, if Armand is able to read minds, why wasn't he able to place that Louis knows now, But anyway, the episode was very good. Like I said, it's very detailed. It answered a lot of questions. Next week, I cannot wait to see what happens, because we are going to get a bit of Claudia next week. And I guess I'm just trying to see what everything is going to lead up to, like what is going to transpire in Paris. As well as what's going to happen between Armand and Louis, because clearly we're seeing that Louis left one narcissist and he's now with another one. He left Lestat and basically got with Lestat Jr. Okay, because Armand is very cunning and he's not trustworthy. But overall, I really enjoyed the episode, and I cannot wait to see what is going to happen on episode 6. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.